Welcome. This is my analysis of Daniel Tay's run at ADCC Kuwait. And the first thing I notice is Danny is looking to connect with his left hand to the opponent's right wrist, and he's looking to connect with his right hand to his opponent's left elbow. My best guess from knowing Danny is that he's looking for a left-handed arm drag and a right-handed throw by in order to create back exposure. Now, something to note is that anytime Danny gets a hold of that right wrist, Islam is doing a very good job of doing a Russian tie snap like the one Islam Makhachev hit on Chase Aldante to off balance Danny and keep grip fighting. From here, they keep hand fighting for a bit until Islam takes a shot with a right handed wrist grip and a left handed collar tie, which is actually a beautiful setup for a flying triangle since when Danny goes to level change, Islam brings his hips up, and since he has the wrist strap, he's able to isolate an arm and jump the triangle. But Danny does a beautiful job of stripping the grip on his head right away and postures up, going straight into the classic Gary Tonin defense where you throw your legs over and start unblocking your opponent's legs. It looks like he's able to unlock the legs, and when he comes up, he disconnects and then looks to start settling into like a shoulder pin slash top inside camping position. But he still hasn't beaten the bottom knee, so when he stands up to go put more pressure, Islam is able to put him in close guard. From here, Danny gets grips inside the armpits and stands up, looking to get that knee in the middle pass. But Islam does a good job of keeping his hips high and is able to bring Danny back down to the ground. Danny tries it again, but this time he's able to sit into a combat base, which allows him to complete the guard break. He goes straight back to that inside camp position, but this time he makes sure he beats the bottom knee, then shoots his own knee across Islam's body to his left side and passes the guard straight into mount. From here, Danny works from the crossface and underhook to bring Islam's arm up. But since Danny does not have active foot on Islam, Islam is able to create some movement and buck Danny right off. Danny is able to keep the smash position well though, and he's able to windshield wiper his legs over towards the left side, which allows him to pass the guard again. And here we have a similar sequence from Mount again, where Danny tries to pressure, but Islam is able to get his hands on the hips and frame away. And I want to make a personal note in here, which is I think, at least for my personal preference, is that anytime I'm in Mount, if I can get under the elbow, then that's when I'll try to pressure. But if my opponent has an elbow inside or a hand on my hip, then I'll always sit up into a vertical position and look to hand fight and get under the elbow before I start pressuring down. I don't know what happened with the audio there, but anyways, Islam is able to pick Danny off and they both go back to their feet. They tie up in a similar way as they have the whole match, but this time Danny opts to pull and sit into a seated open guard. They continue to hand fight with Danny looking for double wrist control this time. He heights up to build height and he's looking for arm drags on either side. And surprisingly, he goes for a right handed arm drag instead of his classic left handed one. Islam is able to re-square and they go back up to standing, continuing the same grip fight. And Danny tries to do the right-handed arm drag again, but Islam is able to evade this one as well. They continue to hand fight, maybe feeling a little tired now because I see them sitting on their collar ties a little longer instead of actively using them. And eventually, Danny looks for that right-handed arm drag again, but Islam is able to re-square once again. And that's something interesting to note. Again, I've rolled with Danny a lot, so I know that anytime he gets that left-handed arm drag, he's actually very good at getting behind you. But whenever he goes for that right-handed arm drag, as can be seen in this comp, he's not really able to get behind you, but he is able to create a big reaction. So maybe something to keep in mind is instead of trying to keep going all the way to the back when you go for the right-handed arm drag, you kind of stop halfway knowing that your opponent is going to re-square with you and you blast double leg them or you enter a single leg because even though you're not getting to the back, you're still forcing a big enough reaction that you can get an effective sequence off. Here, Islam is finally able to hit the Russian wrist snap he's been setting up the whole time, which leads to a little scramble that ends up with Danny in a guillotine and Islam on the floor trying to finish it. Danny does a good job of getting a grip on the top elbow, which allows him to pull his head free, but Islam does a beautiful job of transitioning directly into a normal platter, which Danny also does a beautiful job of defending by stepping over and ending up in a front headlock. They consolidate the position for a little bit, but then Danny starts moving to the back with a knee block go behind and slowly looks to start improving his grips as Islam looks for an opportunity to disconnect, which he finds standing up and immediately threatening an initial victor's roll, which allows him to then just roll back into a half guard. Here, Danny is able to settle into an initial shoulder pin, but when Islam goes to push him away, he passes the knee right by and gets to chest half guard. He threatens the pass to three-quarter mount, but Islam does a very good job of getting a lockdown and completely stops Danny's ability to progress forward. Islam then threatens the electric chair and then starts coming up on a wrestle up, but Danny does a good job of staying facing him and they end up in front headlock once again. I'm slightly wrong. They actually ended up in a chest wrap instead of a front headlock. So Islam goes for the sit through immediately, but then he's able to follow it pretty nicely, being able to insert his first hook, and they end up in a high ball ride with Danny chasing the back. Islam builds to his knees, and Danny looks to follow and looks to insert the hook in, but there's not a lot of time left, and they go on that small battle until time runs out, and they stand them up for overtime. And while that plays out, I'll just mention that I think it's really funny that both Danny and Islam ended up facing each other at Kuwait, where 1 or 2 years ago they could just have locally fought at New Jersey instead. As overtime starts, they get right back into the same hand fight with Danny looking for the right hand on the left elbow, but this time he opts to shoot for a single leg, finishing with a takedown very reminiscent of the way Marab finishes his single legs. He gets to top turtle, and this time he's able to threaten the second hook enough that Islam sits and concedes mount, uh, which Danny follows with a non-triangle attack right away. But Islam does a good job of getting the telephone defense, and they sit in that position for a while. And here's another note, which is that I'm not entirely sure the telephone defense works, but it's certainly a good defense for slowing the strangle down. But I've definitely been strangled out while having the telephone defense by people that are actually good at on triangle finishing mechanics. So I'm not sure. Tell me what you guys think about the telephone defense, but I'm very skeptical on whether or not it works, and I think if anything, it just tires you out a little bit. Anyways, Islam's able to get his hands on the hip and buck Danny off, but Danny is able to get the reverse tight and passes the guard immediately. He then gets the crossface and is able to settle into three-quarter mount, from which he slowly starts working his way back into mount again. Danny then uses his free leg to pummel in a top butterfly hook, which he uses to extract his leg. And instead of going into mount like I thought, he actually opts for side control. Islam is able to trap Danny's leg temporarily, but Danny is able to pull his leg out with relative ease. Islam then looks to get on his side, maybe looking to reconnect his guard or looking to turtle up, but Danny's able to get that reverse tight waist. And anytime Islam looks to go up to his knees, Danny's able to mat return him. Islam finally manages to fight up to Turtle, but Danny is ready and waiting, and he's able to insert one hook right away, leading to a second hook insertion shortly after. Islam looks to roll, but then he's able to keep his hooks active and is eventually able to transition to a body triangle and set up his new favorite move, that being the Scottish Twister. And this is quite an interesting move. It comes from whenever you have a body triangle with your leg on the inside of the opponent's legs, and they turn into you as if they're trying to come into top position to like a top close guard. and from that position you can uh, reach over and get either an overback grip or an underhook on them, and it's almost like a twister like finish, but it's absolutely brutal. And I know we learned this move from watching Stevie Ray. Initially, he's hit it in MMA quite a few times, but honestly, Danny has hit this so many times in competition that it's very impressive, and it's becoming his iconic move now. So that's part one of the breakdown, and stay tuned for part two. Like, comment, share it with all your friends, and put it up on your story. Repost it if you need to, and that's all from me.